What you do in the first hour after waking up could determine whether you'll live to 90 or die decades earlier. Shocking? Absolutely. True? The science doesn't lie. Most men have no idea they're sabotaging their longevity every single morning before they even finish breakfast. But here's what the research shows: men who consistently live into their 90s share 7 specific morning habits. And number 4, it takes just 30 seconds but could add years to your life. Stick with me because what I'm about to share will change everything you thought you knew about aging. 3 weeks ago, I sat with Walter at his 93rd birthday celebration. As I watched him move around the room with more energy than men half his age, I had to ask him the question that's been burning in my mind. Walter, how are you doing this? How are you still driving yourself around, volunteering at the community garden 3 times a week, and living completely independently when most guys your age are in assisted living? He leaned in close and said something I'll never forget. My daughter, it all changed when I was 65. I was watching my buddies drop like flies: heart attacks, strokes, diabetes. I knew I had to do something different because my family genetics weren't going to save me. Most of them barely made it past 75. Then he shared the 7 morning habits that transformed everything for him. Simple things he started doing in that first hour after waking up. Things that seemed almost too basic to matter. But they did matter. They saved his life. After talking with Walter, I became obsessed. I started digging into aging research, watching interviews with longevity experts, reading studies from the world's leading gerontologists. And you know what blew my mind? Everything Walter told me at his kitchen table lined up perfectly with what the science was saying. What Walter discovered by accident, researchers were proving in laboratories around the world. So today I'm sharing Walter's 7 habit with you, along with the science that backs them up and the other men I've met who've experienced the same transformation. But before we get to that 30-second habit that Walter swears by, let's start with the one thing he does before his feet even hit the floor. Habit number 1: immediate hydration. Walter told me, the glass of water on my nightstand isn't optional. It's the first thing I reach for before I do anything else. At first, I thought he was exaggerating. Water? That's the secret? But then I dove into the research, and here's what I found. Leading nephrologists at Harvard Medical School discovered that overnight dehydration accelerates aging by 31%. Think about it. You've been lying there for 7, 8 hours without any fluid. Your blood is literally thickening right now, putting dangerous pressure on your heart and brain. During sleep, your body becomes progressively dehydrated, creating what doctors call morning blood sludging, forcing your heart to work significantly harder and damaging small blood vessels in your brain and kidneys. Then I met Stephen at my clinic during a routine checkup. At 72, he'd been suffering from chronic kidney issues, constant fatigue, and troubling memory lapses. His doctors were talking about dialysis, but when he started drinking 16 ounces of water immediately upon waking, before even getting out of bed, his kidney function improved by 28% in just 60 days. Doc, he told me, my nephrologist couldn't believe the change in my blood work. He kept asking what new medication I was on. I told him just water, first thing in the morning. So here's what you need to do. Starting tomorrow morning, place a full glass of water on your nightstand before bed. The moment you open your eyes, before your feet touch the floor, drink the entire glass. Not coffee, not tea, water. Room temperature is best because cold water can shock your system. Make this non negotiable, like brushing your teeth. Your organs are desperately waiting for hydration after hours of sleep. But hydration alone won't save you if you're making the second mistake that's destroying your circadian rhythm without you even realizing it. Habit number 2: exposure to natural morning light within 30 minutes of waking. When I asked Walter about his morning routine, he said something that stuck with me. After I drink my water, I walk straight to my back porch. Rain or shine, I sit there for at least 10 minutes. My neighbors probably think I'm crazy, but I don't care. It changed my life. I wanted to understand why, so I dug into the research. Studies from the National Institute on Aging show that morning sunlight exposure within 30 minutes of waking increases melatonin production later in the day by 73%. But here's the kicker: missing this morning light trigger is associated with a 37% higher risk of developing neurodegenerative diseases after age 70. Then I came across an interview with a researcher who studied men in Sardinia, Italy, one of the blue zones where men routinely live past 95. He noticed every single one of them spent time outside within minutes of waking, not for exercise, just standing there, breathing, taking in the light. I also met Robert, a 75-year-old, who came to see me about his chronic insomnia. He'd battled it for decades, tried everything: prescription sleep aids, expensive supplements, meditation apps. Nothing worked long term. I suggested one thing: spend 10 minutes outside immediately after waking, regardless of weather. 2 weeks later, Robert called me. I don't know what kind of magic this is, but I'm sleeping through the night for the first time in 20 years. And my blood pressure, down 15 points. My afternoon energy crash, gone. So, tomorrow morning, make it your mission to get natural sunlight within 30 minutes of waking. Even on cloudy days, outdoor light is 50 to 100 times brighter than indoor lighting and provides the critical wavelengths your brain needs. If mobility is an issue, simply sit by an open window. This isn't just about better sleep. It's about resetting your entire biological clock to slow aging at the cellular level. Now, while you're getting that morning light, there's something else Walter does that protects his joints, and it's the reason he can still move like a man in his 60s. Habit number 3: gentle movement before breakfast. Walter demonstrated this for me at his birthday party. Before he even had his morning coffee, he showed me these slow, deliberate movements: ankle circles, knee bends, shoulder rolls. Nothing intense, just gentle, continuous motion. If I skip this, he said, I feel it all day. My joints get stiff. My back aches. But when I do this for just 7 minutes every morning, I move like I did 30 years ago. I wanted to know if this was just Walter or if there was real science behind it. Turns out, rheumatologists at Mayo Clinic found that gentle morning movement reduces joint deterioration by up to 65% in seniors. Morning movement before eating activates a process called autophagy, essentially cellular cleaning that's crucial for joint longevity. I read about a case study involving a 68-year-old man named Harold who was scheduled for knee replacement surgery after years of debilitating arthritis pain. As a last resort, his physical therapist suggested 7 minutes of gentle movement immediately after waking, before consuming anything. Within 3 months, Harold's pain had reduced so significantly that his surgeon canceled the operation. Harold said, I thought my days of playing golf with my grandson were over. Now we're out there every weekend. So here's your action plan. Tomorrow morning, after drinking your water, but before any food or coffee, Spend 5 to 10 minutes doing gentle joint lubricating movements, small circular motions with your ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, and wrists. Stand up and gently sway side to side. Touch your toes if you can, or simply bend forward slightly. The key is continuous, gentle movement that wakes up your joints and muscles. This isn't about breaking a sweat, it's about telling your body, we're ready to move today. But here's where it gets really interesting because the next habit is the one Walter credits as the single most important change he made. It takes just 30 seconds, and the impact is absolutely remarkable. Habit number 4, the 30-second breathing practice. When Walter told me about this one, I'll admit, I was skeptical. Breathing? That's it? But he insisted this was the foundation of everything else. Before I do anything else after my water, Walter explained, I stand outside my door and I breathe. 4 seconds in through the nose. Hold for 7. 8 seconds out through the mouth. I do this 3, 4 times. Takes maybe 30 seconds total, but it sets my entire day. I thought he was overstating it until I started researching blue zones, regions where people routinely live past 100. Researchers documented that centenarians in these areas practice specific breathing patterns that reduce cellular stress by up to 48%. This brief practice activates the vagus nerve, essentially telling your body it's safe to allocate resources to longevity rather than survival. I watched an interview with a 96-year-old shepherd from Sardinia who said something almost identical to what Walter told me. I breathe in the morning to prepare my body for a good day. If I skip this, I feel it by noon. My energy drops, my thinking clouds. When researchers measured the heart rate variability and cortisol levels of these elderly men who practiced morning breathing, they found patterns similar to those of men decades younger. Here's the exact 30-second practice Walter does. Immediately after your morning water, and preferably while getting natural light, perform the 4-7-8 breathing technique. Inhale quietly through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold your breath for 7 seconds. Then exhale completely through your mouth for 8 seconds, making a whooshing sound. Repeat this cycle 3 to 4 times. That's it. 30 seconds that signals your body to activate longevity pathways rather than stress responses. Does this sound too simple to be effective? I thought so too, but the science is clear. This brief practice has measurable effects on blood pressure, inflammation, and stress hormones. Now, if you're still with me, drop a comment below saying, I'm committed. Because what comes next is what separates the men who thrive at 90 from those who barely survive. Habit number 5, protein and fiber-rich breakfast. Walter's breakfast looked nothing like what most American men eat. No toast, no cereal, no pastries. Instead, I watched him make a simple meal: 3 eggs scrambled with vegetables, a handful of berries, some Greek yogurt with chia seeds. He finished it off with a few walnuts. This isn't about taste, he told me, though it tastes fine. This is about giving my body what it needs to repair itself every single morning. I wanted to understand the science, so I dove into nutritional gerontology research. Turns out, leading researchers have identified specific breakfast patterns among long lived populations that reduce inflammatory markers by up to 53%. The first meal of the day sets metabolic patterns that influence everything from insulin sensitivity to microinflammation levels. Research shows that a morning meal containing at least 25 grams of protein and 8 grams of fiber creates a metabolic environment that supports cellular repair rather than cellular damage. Then I met Gerald during a routine checkup. At 68, he'd been diagnosed with prediabetes and rising inflammatory markers. Despite not being overweight, his doctor predicted he would develop full diabetes within 2 years. Instead of immediately starting medication, Gerald transformed his breakfast. He switched from his usual toast and coffee to a protein and fiber rich morning meal. Exactly what Walter had been doing for decades. 6 months later, Gerald's blood markers had normalized completely. Doc, the only thing I changed was breakfast, he emphasized. My endocrinologist couldn't believe it was possible to reverse the trends just by changing one meal. So, here's your morning meal formula for longevity. Combine a high quality protein source, eggs, Greek yogurt, or plant based protein if you prefer, with fiber rich foods like berries, chia seeds, oats, or vegetables. Add a source of healthy fat like avocado, nuts, or olive oil. Avoid refined carbohydrates completely before 10 a.m. They trigger insulin spikes that accelerate aging. The beauty of this habit, it doesn't require additional time. You're already eating breakfast. You're just switching what you eat to activate longevity pathways instead of inflammatory ones. Now, you might think nutrition and exercise are the most important factors. But what I learned next from Walter absolutely shocked me because it's more powerful than any supplement or workout routine. Habit number 6, morning social connection. At Walter's birthday party, I noticed something interesting. Before the celebration even officially started, he was on his phone. I assumed he was checking emails or scrolling social media. But when I asked, he showed me his screen. He was on a video call with his college roommate who lives across the country. We do this every morning, Walter said. Just 5, 10 minutes. We check in, talk about our day ahead, reminisce a little. It's non negotiable for both of us. We've been doing it for 15 years. I thought it was just a nice friendship ritual until I stumbled upon a landmark 80-year Harvard study. The findings were mind blowing. Men who engaged in some form of meaningful social contact before 10 a.m. had 29% lower all cause mortality over the study period. Think about that. Morning social interaction was more powerful for longevity than quitting smoking or exercising. The researchers found that morning social connection sets neurotransmitter patterns that benefit cardiovascular and immune function throughout the entire day. I watched a documentary about Okinawa, Japan, home to some of the world's longest lived men. Every morning, neighbors would gather briefly before starting their days, some for just 5 minutes of conversation. One 97-year-old man explained through a translator, "If I don't speak to someone in the morning, my whole day feels wrong. We check on each other every morning. It's how we've lived so long." When researchers measured his inflammatory markers and compared them to socially isolated men, the differences were striking, equivalent to being decades younger biologically. Here are 3 ways to incorporate this tomorrow. Make a brief morning call to a friend or family member. Even 3 minutes counts. If you live with family, create a meaningful morning check in ritual instead of passing like ships in the night. If you live alone, establish a regular morning coffee meetup with a neighbor or friend, even once a week to start. Can't do any of these? Even a genuine exchange with a barista or the guy at the corner store activates some of the same biological benefits. The key is making human connection a non negotiable part of your morning, just like Walter does. Listen, if this is resonating with you, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell because the final habit I'm about to share literally rewires your brain for longevity, and most men never discover this. Habit number 7, directed gratitude practice. This is the one I was most skeptical about. When Walter told me he practices gratitude every morning, I thought, okay, here's where it gets a little woo woo. But Walter stopped me. This isn't about feeling good or being positive. This is a physical practice that changes what's happening in my body. He was right. Neuroscientists at Yale University discovered that morning gratitude practices physically restructure the aging brain and reduce cortisol by 23%. They can actually see brain changes on fMRI scans when seniors practice directed gratitude consistently in the morning. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision making and emotional regulation, shows increased activity patterns similar to those of much younger brains. But timing matters. This effect is significantly stronger when practiced within an hour of waking. I read a case study about Patrick, a 74-year-old who was struggling with hypertension that wasn't responding well to medication. His cardiologist was genuinely concerned about his heart function. After learning about gratitude research, Patrick began a simple morning gratitude practice focused specifically on his body and health, exactly what Walter had been doing. Within 3 months, Patrick's blood pressure had stabilized, and his heart rate variability, a key marker of cardiovascular health, had improved by 31%. His doctor was baffled. What medication did you change? Patrick told him it was just his morning thinking pattern. The doctor was skeptical until he saw the consistent readings over time. So here's the 2-minute practice Walter taught me. Immediately after your breathing exercise, place your hand over your heart. Name 3 specific parts of your body you're grateful for and why. For example, I'm grateful for my legs that still carry me where I need to go. I'm grateful for my hands that let me build things and hold my grandkids. I'm grateful for my heart that's been beating faithfully for me for over 60 years. The key is specificity and directing gratitude toward your body, not just circumstances. Walter said it perfectly. Most men spend their whole lives at war with their bodies, mad about what doesn't work, frustrated with what's changed. This practice made peace with mine, and that peace shows up in my blood work. This isn't magical thinking. It creates a measurable shift in nervous system function that influences everything from inflammation levels to immune response. Now you know the 7 morning habits that transformed Walter's life and could transform yours too. Here's what I want you to understand: you don't need to be perfect. Walter told me he started with just water and sunlight. That's it. 2 habits. Then he added another one every few weeks. The key cut, he said, is starting tomorrow, not waiting for some perfect moment that never comes. Your morning routine literally programs your body for youth or for aging. Which will you choose? These habits aren't optional luxuries. They're essential practices for any man who wants to not just reach his 90s, but to arrive there with energy, clarity, and purpose, just like Walter. I've watched Walter live this for nearly 3 decades now. I've met dozens of other men at my clinic who've transformed their health trajectories with these same practices. I have read the research from the world's leading longevity scientists. It all points to the same truth. What you do in the first hour after waking up determines how you age. Now, I know some of you are thinking, this sounds great, but I'm not sure I can stick to all 7 habits every single day. And I get it. Life gets busy. Routines get disrupted. So let me share something else I discovered. While researching longevity practices, I came across groundbreaking new research from Mayo Clinic that reveals a 12-second morning tea hack that's been shown to extend human lifespan by a whopping 36%. Think about that for a second, 12 seconds. One simple morning ritual that could add decades to your life. The researchers found that this specific combination of compounds, when consumed first thing in the morning, activates the same cellular pathways that Walter's 7 habits trigger. It's like getting the benefits of multiple longevity practices in a single cup. Now, don't get me wrong, the 7 habits I shared are powerful, and if you can implement them, you absolutely should. But if you're looking for a way to support your cellular health without worrying about whether you're doing everything perfectly every single day, this 12-second morning tea hack might be exactly what you need. It's designed specifically for men over 60 who want to keep their cells young, maintain their independence, and live with the kind of vitality Walter has at 93. The link to learn more about this Mayo Clinic backed discovery is in the description below and pinned in the comments, too. Your future self will thank you for taking action today instead of waiting. So here's my question for you. Which of these 7 habits will you start with tomorrow? Or will you check out that 12-second morning tea hack? Either way, make a decision right now. Your future self, the one who wants to be driving his own car, living independently, and thriving at 93, is counting on what you decide in this moment. And drop a comment below telling me which habit you're starting with tomorrow. Or if you're going to try that tea hack. I read every single comment and I want to hear from you. If you found this valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more insights that could add years to your life. And share this video with a buddy who needs to hear this. It might just be the gift that changes his entire future. Remember, the longest lived men on earth aren't genetically lucky. They're simply doing what you now know. The only question is, will you join them? I'm Dr. Avery, and I'll see you in the next one.